Good morning. It is Thursday, April the 29th, and this is The Drill. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So, we're going to be doing the Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare, then the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I'm going to be reading Chapter 4 of the book Power Hungry. April 29th, I will not permit the proud to oppress you. I will not leave you to your oppressors, and I will not let the proud oppress you. I will bless you because you put your trust in me and do not respect the proud, nor those who turn aside to lies. Meditate on my precepts. Do not fear the oppressors, for I will put them to shame and revive you according to my loving kindness. I will destroy the house of the proud, but I will hear every prayer of the righteous. I will resist the proud, but I will give my grace to you if you remain humble. Behold, I have released you from the oppression of the wicked. I will multiply your life, and you will not be diminished. I will glorify you with my righteousness, and your children will be established. But I will punish all who seek, to oppress you. Prayer declaration. Because I have placed my trust in you, O Lord, and have humbled myself and resisted the wicked intentions of the proud, you have blessed my life and set me free from the bondage of oppression. Because of your loving kindness to me, I will seek to bring your consolation and the encouragement to others by becoming a servant to them and developing the same attitude as that of your Son, Christ Jesus. And that was the April 29th Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare. And now we go to Power Hungry by Robert Bryson, and I'm going to be reading Chapter 4. Yesterday I read Chapter 2, which was about the difference between, how energy and power are measured. So Chapter 3 I'm going to skip because I'm not interested in it. So I'm just going to go straight to Chapter 4, Wood to Coal to Oil, the slow pace of energy transitions. Given our current obsession with big oil and big coal, it's worth noting that the fuel source that has the longest reign in American energy business is plain old firewood. Wood's reign as the most important fuel in the United States lasted longer than any other. For 265 years after the Pilgrims founded the Plymouth Colony, and for 109 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, wood was the dominant source of energy in America. It wasn't until 1885, the year that Grover Cleveland was first sworn in as president, that coal finally surpassed wood as the largest source of primary energy in the United States. For the next 75 years, coal was king. During the first 2 decades of the 20th century, coal was supplying as much as 90% of all the primary energy in the United States, fueling factories, heating homes, providing boiler fuel for essentially all of the nation's electric power plants. But coal's dominance was not to last. Thanks in large part to the booming demand for kerosene for lighting, and more particularly for gasoline to fuel automobiles, oil began whittling away at coal's market share. World War II was a turning point. The massive production of airplanes, ships, and motor vehicles during the war years accelerated the demand for oil. Although oil has been the undisputed champion, the jockeying for second place has been ferocious. The decades-long jousting for primacy among the various hydrocarbons provides more evidence of just how difficult it will be to replace them. The longer we use hydrocarbons, the more entrenched they become in our way of life, and the more energy we produce with hydrocarbons, the more energy we are able to produce. The idea that hydrocarbons beget more hydrocarbons can also be seen by looking at the Cardinal Coal Mine in western Kentucky. The mine produces more than 15,000 tons of coal per day, and the essential commodity that facilitates the mine's amazing productivity is electricity. The massive machines that claw the coal from the earth run on electricity provided by power plants on the surface that burn coal. Hydrocarbons are begetting more hydrocarbons in the oil and gas business. Modern drilling rigs can bore holes that are 5, 6, or even 8 miles long in the quest to tap new reservoirs of oil. And the energy they have access to is the energy that they use to access that oil is oil. Diesel fuel has long been the fuel of choice for drilling rigs around the world. On offshore drilling rigs, the power is often supplied by diesel fuel, but in some cases, the power is provided by natural gas that the rig itself produces. Thus, on those offshore platforms, the natural gas is, in effect, mining itself. The transition away from oil, coal, and natural gas will be a decades-long process because the companies that produce these commodities are getting even better at finding and exploiting them. Though environmental groups and energy analysts eagerly publicize the inventiveness of entrepreneurs working to improve wind and solar power technology and other ways to harness alternative sources of energy, they seldom mention the ongoing innovations that are occurring on the hydrocarbon side of the ledger. In the United States, there are about 5,000 independent oil and gas companies, every one of which is continually spending money and testing new concepts that will wring yet more petroleum and natural gas out of their leases. It was only 6 decades ago that the oil industry drilled its first offshore oil well, the Kermac 16, out of the sight of land. And that well was drilled in just 20 feet of water. Today, Anadarko Petroleum is producing natural gas at the Independence Hub in the Gulf of Mexico, where the water depth is 8,000 feet. And that one platform provides enough natural gas to supply about 5 million homes. Conceiving of an 8-mile-long well boggles the mind, particularly when you learn that the Daisy Bradford No. 3, the well that started the flood of oil development in the East Texas field, was only 3,500 feet deep. In the natural gas sector, recent breakthroughs in shale gas technology have unlocked vast quantities of methane. Over the past 5 years, U.S. shale gas production has soared, thanks to the techniques such as microseismic analysis, horizontal drilling, and enhanced well completion. While the oil and gas industry continues to improve the techniques that will allow companies to drill wells deeper, faster, with greater precision at ever lower costs, the coal industry continues to show its resilience. Although oil passed coal as the most important source of U.S. energy back in 1950, coal hasn't gone away. In fact, over the past few years, thanks to soaring global demand for electricity, coal has enjoyed a resurgence. Although we now live in the age of oil, the age of coal hasn't yet passed. Over the past 2 decades, global electricity consumption has grown faster than any other type of energy use, and since 1990, electricity has increased nearly 3 times as fast as oil consumption. Electricity is the energy commodity that separates the developed countries from the rest. Nearly 130 years ago, Thomas Edison began electrifying the world by burning coal. And in the intervening century, not much has changed. So that was chapter 4 of the book Power Hungry. And so reminding us that the rate of change as far as energy and power is concerned is very slow. And so there's a lot of people, of course, on the left that think that this is going to be a snap. We just, all we have to do is put in certain laws and force everybody to change on a dime, and everything will be okay. But it's going to be those same lefties, the AOCs, that are going to be shrieking when they can, when they no longer really have cell phones. Because if you don't have the power to run your cell phone, then what? What good is it? It's a paperweight. It's a paperweight, which reminds us, why do we have paperweights? Because back in the day before we had air conditioning, when you worked in an office, the only way you could keep the office cool enough to work in was to open the windows. So if you might be in a skyscraper or a tall building, working way up, I don't know, on the 35th floor, and you open the windows and let the breeze come in. And so you don't want all your papers to blow off your desk, so you used paperweights. Or you would use fans. But same idea, you would use paperweights to keep everything on your desk from blowing away. So nobody wants to have to do that. They like air conditioning, and and also, like he said, the rate of change is going to be rather slow. We're the industry is finding new ways to get to oil and gas that it couldn't get to, say, 10 years ago. But when I was growing up, it was all the talk was about the energy crisis. That's what they always call it, the energy crisis, that there's only so many decades worth of oil in the ground, and that once we go through that, we're done, we're finished. And yet here we are 50 years later, and not only do we still have oil, but we're discovering new fields of oil, gas, and coal all around the world, and fields that are going to last, like the author said, in some cases up to 250 years. So the left likes to use the benevolent or the malevolent universe premise and use energy as one of the ways to try to scare people into thinking this is a scary universe, it's unknowable, and we can't know anything with certainty. You don't know what's going to happen when you step out your front door. We might end up having blackouts, etc., etc. So the truth is, it's a benevolent universe, and that we can and do know things with certainty, that the universe is predictable, and so because of that, success is to be expected. And that's the basis for which capitalism is an optimistic, if you will, philosophy, economic / political philosophy. It rests on the idea that, again, that the universe is knowable, and because it's knowable, success can be expected. So the left, in order to attack capitalism, has to go the other direction. They have to pretend that the universe is a big, scary, evil place, and all kinds of terrible things might happen. Ooh, global warming. And then when they can't make that stick, then it's going to be, climate change, which doesn't quite have the same boogeyman ring to it. So tomorrow, chapter 5, perhaps I'm going to read it first and see whether or not it's something that we need to go into. There's not a lot in this book. I'm not wanting to inundate listeners with details. He's going to throw around megawatts and comparing this source of energy with that. I don't care. The left doesn't care. The left is not interested in getting into a debate. They don't want to disabuse yourself of the notion that your socialist neighbors want to debate with you. They don't. All they want to do is exercise power. They want to manipulate you. They want to put you in a box. They want you to try to prove the negative. Okay, that's what they're always trying to get you to do, is prove the negative. And in so doing, you end up driving yourself crazy. And then you're out of the loop. You're no longer a viable, you're no longer in the way. Then they can just step in and start doing whatever the hell it is they want to do. So don't get bogged down with statistics. Most of the time what you need to do is you're going to have to mock them. You're going to have to find slogans, use various different types of slogans that will stop them. And so you use this book, go to Amazon to get it, and go in there and find little phrases and whatnot that will slow them down. For instance, when they're talking about energy, you can say it's not about energy, it's about power. And if you just that one little sentence right there, and your opponent is going to be staring at you with their mouth open because they don't know what to say, because they're a useful idiot. They just do whatever CNN tells them to do. They say whatever it is Don Lemon tells them to say. Okay? And Don Lemon says energy, 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 then they're going to say the same thing. When you come back and say, well, energy doesn't matter, what matters is power, they don't know what to do. So go through the book and you're looking for little pithy little sentences, slogans, if you will, that you can use to stop your opponents. Back in a minute. Thank you. So, old Joe did some kind of a speech in front of, I don't know who the hell it was. I didn't care. I didn't watch it. Not going to watch it. I get little glimpses of it from the news where they before I shut the radio off or I change the channel about, what's in his spectacular package or whatever. He has some crap that he's trying to sell. And what he doesn't realize, nobody else realizes, it doesn't bother me a bit because no matter what it is that he does, we can destroy. No matter what he builds, we can destroy. He writes an executive order. 4 years from now, we will be undoing those executive orders. And that goes the same thing with cheating. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. No matter what the left wants to do, the right can do it better. So you want to cheat, you want to try and cheating your way through elections, we can do it better. We can set it up so that the Democrats never win another election again, ever. They just simply cease to exist. So look forward to that in 2022, 2024. And in 2022, Republicans are going to be taking over the House. They're going to be taking over the Senate. And when they do, all of the pipe dreams that that Nancy Pelosi and everybody on the left has invested in will be gone. They will just we'll simply erase them. And it will be like they never happened. So again, I've got to ask the people on the left, why do you even bother? Why do you bother to vote for Joe when he's not producing anything for you? He's not going to produce anything for you. This is just a scheme. They have old Joe is up there writing all these writing these executive orders because, and they're going to probably try and find a way to do these budgetary things as executive orders as well in some way, shape, or form. Not only to bypass the Republicans, but so that the Democrats that run for office won't have to take any flack from their constituents. Okay, so it's all about them. It's all about Nancy Pelosi. It's all about old Joe, and the rank and file socialists can go to hell. They don't care. All they want is your money and your vote. And then the rest of it is, again, they just turn their back on you and go to hell. The other part of this is 100 days into his administration, where's paradise? And I'm never going to stop saying it. The left has the biggest promises. Paradise. They promise paradise. Where is it? Where is it? Do we see it on the border? We see paradise there? No. How about in terms of curbing our national debt? No, we don't see that. How about in terms of responsible spending? What is all this spending about? Infrastructure, is that going to create paradise? No. What about the bums, all the bums that we have on the street, the drug addicts, the insane? Has that problem been addressed? Are they still there, these folks? As far as I know, they are. And when are they going away? Is that paradise? And if it isn't paradise, when are we going to see paradise? When is that going to happen? Tomorrow, next week, next year, 2022 in the next election, 2024 in the next presidential election? When's all that going to happen? What about, going back to the border, what about open borders? I thought that the left and socialists were big on open borders. There's no property. The United States isn't property. It's just one big world with land masses and water masses. So where's that? How come we still have an ICE? How come we still have all of the apparatus surrounding immigration and emigration? And by the way, you guys on the left, you want to call it migration, you can do whatever you want. You'll talk to yourselves because nobody buys this migration crap. You think that if you call people migrants, we'll start treating them like migrants. No. They're immigrants and emigrants because they're human beings, and human beings have a need for privacy and therefore for property. And the United States, properly thought of, is property. But where is the open borders? The old Joe is going the opposite direction. He is starting to shut down the border. He's not opening it up. So the very people that are supposed to be doing and ushering in these radical changes have clay feet. They're not doing anybody on the left anything good. And it doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. Who's next? Who's going to be your hero, your champion in 2024? Bernie Sanders? You're going to get rid of old Joe and put in Bernie instead? And you think he's going to do anything different than old Joe did? The only thing different is he's just going to give it different names. Okay, he's going to call it something else. So That's the and that's the reason I bring that up. All of this up is because conservatives most conservatives. Sean Hannity, let's say, is kind of stupid when he's trying to convince people not to be socialists or not to vote socialist, because he tries to convince people that being a socialist is no good because it's not conservative. No kidding. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. So I'm not going to tell you as a lefty, I'm not going to say, hey, you shouldn't be a lefty because your taxes are go up or taxes are going to be raised. Because ostensibly you, Mr. Lefty, make less than $400,000 a year, so you'll be saved from that. Somebody else is going to have to pick up the tab, the so-called rich. But the thing is that's not, look at it also, $400,000. Why isn't it anybody under $2 billion or $200 billion? Why isn't all the taxes being levied on somebody like Bloomberg, the ex-mayor Bloomberg, who's supposed to be worth hundreds of billions? I mean, that's obscene. Why don't you just take it away from him? Why don't you guys on the left just go and make the demand that, all of his wealth, except for leaving with, $1 million, but $199 billion and whatever's left goes to the government. Just confiscate it. Isn't that going to pay for a hell of a lot of programs? Isn't that going to get, how much, $200 billion would get how many people off the street? How many bums off the street? Right? So again, we're not going to raise your taxes unless you make more than $400,000 a year. Well, that's up over $400,000 is simply upper middle class in the United States. When you start getting into a country that has how many millionaires, how many people that are worth tens or hundreds of millions, and then you get into the billionaire class, Donald Trump and et cetera. Why not just if you're a socialist, shouldn't you be going to the old Joe administration demanding that that kind of wealth just be simply confiscated? That it's ridiculous, it's obscene. Can you imagine that Bloomberg getting a traffic ticket and they say, oh, you're going to have to pay, let's say it's a fairly large one, $300 or something. What does he care? If he's worth $200 billion, what does he care about a $300 traffic ticket? Huh? And then the worst, he's going to get Social Security, he's going to get Medicare. That's right. He's going to get government-sponsored, paid-for medical care. The other obscene thing about single payer is that in a single payer world, Mr. Billionaire gets free medical care. How obscene is that? So, like I said, nothing changes. I've said it before on my podcast to the lefties. One of the good reasons not to be a lefty, nothing really changes. The best thing to do is to, again, as it's always been said, learn something, work hard, save your money, take advantage of the opportunities that you have, and go from there. But all this socialist nonsense, nobody's going to give that to you. Nobody's going to be representing you on that score. They pretend to, because, again, they want your donations. And then the even more contradictory thing is look at who the champions on the left are. Who are the major donors? Corporations. Twitter. Facebook. Twitter, Facebook, all the tech giants. And these are all corporations. And not only they're corporations, they're publicly traded corporations. This is Wall Street. Wall Street that's running around telling the politicians what it is they should or shouldn't be doing. Can you trust Wall Street to lead a socialist revolution? I wouldn't. And I don't believe that Karl Marx would either. So, again, it's never going to happen. There's no paradise now. There's no paradise in the offing. It's just going to be more of the same. More of the same BS. More of the same disappointments for the left, for the rank and file lefty. Nothing changes. Nothing is going to change. Back in a minute. That brings me to the, thank you. That brings me to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill. Remember to be honest, be smart, be beautiful, and remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.